Okay, we're gonna start.
It's crazy.
I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Village of Council to order, please. Turn your phones off or set them to vibrate so you don't disturb any of the discussions that are going on. And once you've done that, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. You. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Game.
Councilor Murray?
Here.
Councilor Burkett?
Here.
Councilor Knight?
Here.
Councilor Woolman?
Here.
Councilor Mira?
Here.
Councilor Alsobrook is traveling?
Traveling.
Okay. All right, we have a quorum. So first thing I need is an approval of the agenda, please. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. Any discussion, anything on there you don't like, you want to talk about? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All right,
No.
ayes have it.
I'm working on 3 hours of sleep right now, so there's gonna be a lot of nonsense today. I apologize in advance. So if I stay awake the whole time, consider it a moral victory.
Well, just lean back, put your feet up. It's no big deal.
I should have brought Jen in.
Just don't snore, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So first on the agenda is approval of appointments. Erica Edgerly for Parks and Recreation reappointment. Is Edgerly, are you around?
Mayor, Erica emailed me right before the meeting and she said she's unable to attend, but she did ask that I read a statement if that's okay with you and the council.
Sure.
Dear members of the Corrales Village Council, I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to extend my sincerest apologies for missing the meeting this evening. Unfortunately, circumstances have prevented my attendance, and for that I am truly sorry. I am writing to kindly request your consideration in reappointing me to the Corrales Parks and Recreation Commission, a position I've greatly enjoyed for the past 3 years. My family and I have greatly enjoyed the use of the Corrales Parks and Recreation facilities, and we hold them in the highest esteem as a true treasure of our village. We truly value the opportunity to use the parks and recreation facilities within the village, as do all villagers. Thank you for your understanding and consideration. I am eager to continue contributing to the community through this role. And also, just so you know, she is the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission at the moment.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
There you go. So we have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor, unless there's anybody want to say anything else? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. First, we're going to have a presentation, and I believe it's going to be Mr. John Schuman, who's going to present a check to the Corrales Animal Services from the pet mayor election. Is that correct, John? Oh, okay, all right. Well, it seemed like you sent me the email.
I did. I sent you.
Yeah,
It was
well,
hand delivered by hand.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't y'all come over here so we can, everybody can, yeah, you can face the audience. You sure?
They said you're the guy.
You sure? All right. Should I stand or should I come down? Should I come down?
The button.
Or you?
There you go. For those of you who are not aware, this is a check for $7,200. This is the result of the pet mayor competition that we had. That's part of the Harvest Festival. And you'll note that around the room tonight are a number of us Kiwanians, proud Kiwanians, who have conducted this, but we couldn't have done it without 2 really special ladies. They worked hard. This is their first year. They have a goal of $10,000 for next year. So congratulations.
On behalf of Kiwanis, we'd like to present to you the check in the amount of $7,250 for your service. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Still has money.
And next we have an appreciation award
Don't sit down.
for Animal Services Officer Catherine Keller. Oh, it's one of Melanie's cups.
Yes, exactly. So Mayor and Council, we've been doing this appreciation award for the last couple of years. And Kat has now been with us here in the village for 15 years. So I would like to present her. And an awesome coffee mug. Thank you so much, Kat.
Okay. Mr. Curry, I believe it's time for your report.
Thank you so much, Mayor. First up is Tanya.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry. Not a lot to update because there's still not a lot of information out there. For acute respiratory illness for New Mexico between 10-5 and 10-18, we've been really minimal within Sandoval County at 8.7%. Mora was the only county in the state that was above minimal or low, and it was moderate at 20.27% for acute respiratory illness. They last posted test day for New Mexico was 10/11/25. There, out of all the tests, there were no flu or RSV. 6% were COVID. Mora itself had a discharge diagnosis of 2.76% that had a diagnosis, and all of those were COVID. They had no flu or RSV. Sandoval is still considered low, with no RSV and very minimal, less than 0.5% of flu. Wastewater levels for New Mexico are still being posted, not nationally, but New Mexico is. And in October, Santa Fe was the only one in the metro area that was really climbing. Rio Rancho was declining, and Albuquerque had a slight increase, but Santa Fe had a really large spike. Influenza in New Mexico for tests between 9/21 and 10/18. In the age group 18 to 49, there was only 0.14 out of 100,000. So not even one person per 100,000 in that age group. The 75 plus was only 0.26 out of 100,000. So we're still doing good. I just don't have a national picture of where influenza is because there is no data been updated since September 20th. If you haven't got your flu shot and you're planning on getting a flu shot, now is a really good time to do it. Same if you're looking at boosters for your COVID vaccine. Remember, it takes about 14 days to get to your maximum level if you're wanting to be protected for a holiday season. That's why I'm kind of timing mine out. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. So is there any information available about measles rearing its ugly head again?
So right now, New Mexico is the second highest in the nation with measles. We stopped at 100. We have not had one in a long time, so we're past that outbreak. For the 23-24 season, we were at 95.1 or 95.2 for vaccination. So we're really, even though we had that 100, we really have a high amount of vaccination. It's not over. Nationally, the last cases that I saw were 4. I believe they were on the 19th nationally. I can't tell you which state it was from. It's going to continue, and as we're inside more, it's going to continue for a while.
I mean, Texas is probably notorious because that's where most of your anti-vaxxers seem to be residing, but that means is it going to bleed over into New Mexico, do you think?
Texas is still staying right at 100. I mean, 800 and something. So the ones I'm seeing, I know North Carolina's had some. I think a lot of people, I mean, New Mexico did this great push and people went out and got vaccinated. People who are in that older population who weren't sure went out and got vaccinated or got titers and then vaccinated. I'm hoping, you know, I've stand here twice before and said, oh, it's over. And then we get more cases in New Mexico. But I'm hoping that at least for us, I'd like to see it nationally. People have gone out and checked. I mean, I didn't have a titer. I had to get, not now, but previously I had to get a measles booster and a polio booster because I had lost my titer to both. So I think a lot of people especially in our area, are really conscientious about the health of other people.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
One of the things I think is important for all our folks to know is that the fire department here in Corrales is very proud of the fact that they've had so many folks that have worked with them for so many years. And right now we've got the Corrales Fire Department is funded for 15 full-time positions, and 13 of those are filled. And the fire department, I can tell you, really strives to maintain its staff, as does the police department, because there are challenges in this village for our public, for our first responders, sometimes that people quite don't realize the full complex issue of it. But there are times when staff members leave, they find better opportunities. And the reason they find better opportunities, I believe, is because of the training they get from the folks in the fire department or the police department. So I'm going to talk to you about one of them right now. And the most recent person to leave was Julian Trujillo, who started with the village in October of 2018. He started in Public Works. And he started there and looked like a bright future ahead of him. But he's a young man, and the lure of being in the fire department was great for him. And I remember talking to Michael Chavez, who was Public Works Director at the time, who was somewhat chagrined that he was leaving to go to be in the fire department. But he came under the tutelage of the chief and Tanya. And in that process, he received many recognitions. And during his 2.5 years with the fire department, he received many trainings and certifications in the following. He got wildland firefighting, hazardous materials, firefighter 1 and level 2, swiftwater rescue, rope tech, airboat operator, and emergency medical technician basic level. With this certification, he was able to be hired as a contract firefighter and is deployed to McMurdo Scientific Center as a firefighter. What's cool about that, McMurdo Scientific Center is in Antarctica. And so, yeah, hats off to the fire department for their training. And I think it's when people do that, they say here, it's almost like the public service they put in here, and then they graduate someplace else. And yeah, he's going to make some money. That's a good deal. But to go from Corrales to Antarctica is a pretty cool thing. No pun intended.
No, not much.
So, but it shows, I think it shows the quality that we try to give our first responders, whether it be in the fire department or the police department. And it's a tribute to the folks who try to help us residents that live here in the village of Corrales. So I just wanted to make you aware of that because, again, I think it's pretty neat. So the next issue I'd like to talk about, I'd like to have Lori come up and talk about this. In our dealings with issues around the village, we oftentimes have to deal with things that become controversial. And one of them has been the Heritage House. And I think there's been discussion here at the council about that. And I know Lori has dealt with them on a number of issues. And for some of you may recall that about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, they were the site of the filming of Big Sky, which was a TV show that aired for 2 or 3 years. And since that time, they've transitioned to something else. And since that time, Lori, in her position as planning and zoning administrator, has had many interactions, which she has discussed with me over the time. And so I would just like Lori to take that and lead into some of the issues that we're dealing with that some of you as counselors may hear about. And I think it's important for you to hear the story from Lori.
Thank you, Administrator Curry, Mayor, councilors. A little bit later on the agenda, we're going to talk about no parking, which is going to relate directly back to something that happened this weekend. So about 2 years ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will say reluctantly approved a site development plan to expand some uses there. To add 3 more short-term rentals and turn the actual house into a cafe and drinkery downstairs and 3 additional short-term rentals upstairs. There's a carriage house on the property that had approval for 2 short-term rentals for some time. And the reason I say reluctantly approved, the vote was 3-2. One of the issues discussed at length 2 years ago was the fact that they had a history of allowing people to park on Priestley and Coraval to a really great extent, not just a couple of cars up and down the road, restricting traffic, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously that came up during planning and zoning. And so when they did give the approval after the discussion and assurances that that would no longer happen, they approved it with some conditions, one of which was events larger than on-site parking can handle can only be organized with appropriate additional off-site parking in place and contracted for. There are some municipal-owned lots right across the street to ensure that no one parks on side roads. So this was very clear, made very clear. Unfortunately, last Saturday, and this is a violation on many levels, not just parking, they held a public event. They sold tickets, they served alcohol, they served food. They allowed people throughout the home, upstairs, downstairs, balconies. The building official found out about it. I found out about it. He called her. She assured him that people would only be outdoors. They were not. The owner also assured him there would be no food or alcohol. There was. So yesterday, he and I wrote a letter. If you'd like, I can sort of paraphrase it. I just point out that on Saturday, October 25th, they held a public event, tickets sold at the Heritage House located at 4036 Corrales Road. And, that she had given these assurances that the folks would only be outdoors, there would be no food, no alcohol, but in fact there was. Our building official, gave me several code sites. Some of the problems here are this is still an active construction site. There's been no final certificate of occupancy. There's been no final zoning review by me. There's been no fire inspection. There should have been no human beings in the house, and this simply should not have happened. So I listed all of the code sites, including International Building Code provided by Brian Gresham, our building official. I also said, because I've spoken to her many times about this issue, what distresses me personally is that the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the site development plan at this location in good faith, with you knowing full well that overflow parking had been a serious problem in the past. You assured them it would not be an issue in the future. However, there were cars parked up and down Coraval and Priestley roads. I saw them myself. And then I finished by there will be no more events, gatherings, parties at this property, indoors or out, until the proper commercial certificates of occupancy for the cafe, bar, short-term rentals in the former house and the gazebo have been obtained, along with a final fire inspection and business license. If they are, the village will take the necessary legal action to shut them down. And I sent that yesterday. It's about all I can do.
So I just wanted to make you aware of Lori's actions, and she and I had some conversation about it. And I don't know if you have any questions or how many questions Lori can answer, but it's such a visible part of our community for so many years that it's so appropriate that we try to keep those folks in compliance.
Yeah, appreciate it. So Ron, I'm curious what options we have as far as enforcement, because Lori and I had a conversation about another property that's had multiple site development plans over the past couple of years, and they've had stipulations in those site development plans, and they haven't checked any of the boxes in those site development plans, and they've continued to kind of do whatever they want. And then when they get to the point of where they can't anymore, they just put in another site development plan and they get another list of concessions that they don't do those either. What do we have as far as like real teeth that we can put to some of these things? Because I know it's a lot of work to enforce these things, and I'm sure it's expensive, but it's also it's expensive to have people just kind of trample all over the rules. And so we need to have some sort of enforcement policy that we really can make it painful or uncomfortable to break the rules.
So, sitting in, any form of government that you look at, the administration is in charge of enforcement. And so in this situation, so are we. And so when Lori and I spoke about this, and the violations were listed, we send a letter advising them what they do. And then the next step will, if there's some more controversy, will end up in the court that will be settled here in this room in front of the judge. After that, if there's any further appeal from whatever the judge's decision would be, it would probably go up to the 13th district in Rio Rancho. But I think one of the things that is important for everybody to understand is that a code enforcement officer for this village is very important. We have been without one now for about 4 months. We just recently hired one a week ago Monday, or maybe it was this Monday.
A week
Yeah.
ago, Monday.
Yeah, and a week ago Monday. And so the code enforcement in the past, when we've been without a code enforcement officer or a building official, we've had to rely on the State Department of Regulation and Licensing. And in some cases, we've had to rely on Rio Rancho. So now we have both a building inspector and a code enforcement officer. And the code enforcement officer looks at our codes and goes out and enforces them, no matter what they are. He is not a police official, but he is given certain enforcement capabilities that allows him to bring someone into court. In the past, when we've had to bring people into court, it's the code enforcement officer has had to argue in front of the judge, and the judge in her or his domain expects that person to be able to bring a chargeable argument. And we've had to work with our code enforcement officers in the past so that they can present that argument to the judge. And we believe at this point now that our new code enforcement officer is that individual that can do that for the benefit of the village. So the building inspector, so you can get a gist of it, and just backing off here 1 second, in my experiences in municipal government in 4 different municipalities now, the planning and zoning department is always the most controversial because you're telling people what to do with their property. And most people don't like to be told what to do with their property, whether it's a septic tank or whether it's a setback or something like that. So we have a good quality building inspector that is very happy to be here. We have a new code enforcement. And of course we have Lori that is hailing over these operations. But as you'll see later on in the agenda with the clean and lean, these are very personal issues that have to be handled correctly because of the fact that they're on their properties. Mm-hmm. And so we will go into court, and we'll go into court with the best possible evidence that we have. And the fact that we filled that position, I think, is a benefit to the village of Corrales. And we present the case to the judge, and the judge, like everything else, has to decide, and we have no control over those decisions. We just have to be able to present the best possible argument going forward.
Do you have any sense on what a fine on something like that might be? And I have no idea, and you probably don't either off the top of your head, but if it's a couple $100, I mean, there were at least 100 people there, and that's $2 per person. it could be look at just a cost of doing business. Just, hey, I'm going to break the rule, then I'm going to pay the fine, and it's going to chip away my profits a tiny bit. I'd love to explore, like, you can no longer do anything for 30 days. All permits are put on hold for 60 days, something that has a little bit more of a long-term effect and makes people think harder than, should I just spend the $200 on parking, or should I spend the $200 on the ticket for not spending $200 on parking?
Well, I'm going to yield to Lori here first.
Counselor, one of the things that the code enforcement officer and I are going to do are going to look at the fine structure we have. And if it's not meaningful, we're going to come back and ask, because it would be an ordinance change, that we have meaningful fines, and maybe escalating fines. If you've got the same person doing the same things over and over again, escalating fines, because that's a problem, I think.
Yes, sir. Council Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So who issues the permit of occupancy?
The building official.
So
And the fire department does a final fire inspection, so it's a two-part
is
process.
there a possibility of yanking that permit of occupancy as a penalty?
I think that what the building official and the fire marshal can do is if there is an illegal activity, they can shut it down. That's my understanding from talking to other municipalities. They have the power to literally shut it down till everyone go home. And that would have a powerful impact as well.
They can all come back tomorrow.
Well, then we shut them down again. If they're going to keep flouting our ordinances, and then we have to bring out the big guns.
Well, I tend to agree with Councilor Burkett that we need to put some more teeth in this somewhere.
Okay. Councilor Mira.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going back to the basics. I'm sorry. Going back to the basics, right now, your understanding is there a fine, and is there a fine and or a penalty in the books that you can work from, or we're going to have to create one? I wasn't too sure about your answer on that one.
You know, we have doing business without a business license. I don't know if the fire code has anything for, you know, conducting business without a fire inspection. And I would have to talk to Brian at length about what penalties he might be able to pull out of building code. But we need something in our code, obviously. If it's not there and it's not meaningful, then we're going to look at all of that, because, you know, enough is enough.
So does that mean you're going to get back to us, or because my question was pretty firm for right now, is there a fine period, and or is there another form of movement? Do we have that now?
So, Counselor, there is something at the beginning of our village code that says there is a fine, a maximum fine that the judge can assess for breaking any village code.
Okay.
So that's probably what the judge would revert to. I don't remember off the top of my head what that is, but I do know it's in the, I believe it's chapter 1 of the village code that does describe what the penalties are for violating village code.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilor Murray.
Back on the fines, I thought we were limited to what the state told us we could do. Is that correct?
On certain things, yes.
But in terms of ordinances and our zoning, we can do pretty much what we want. Is he looking it up now?
No.
Google.
I would say that this is something we should probably put together and bring back to the council with some recommendations, because this was not on the agenda as this kind of a discussion.
Yeah.
And in order to not cause an issue, we probably should stop but we will, I agree with you, Stuart. I agree with you, Councilor Mira. I think we can probably put together a fine, not a fine package, but a fine package that addresses this issue. And I don't know why we can't say, if you continue to violate the ordinance by doing things that are unsafe, not only to you, but to your neighbors also, because we don't know what kind of hazardous waste they might have stored in their shed, you know? So I think that, you know, we should be able to shut them down and just stop. Cease and desist, as the attorneys say.
Thank you.
Is that okay with you guys?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So we'll come back with it.
No, if I may,
Yes, sir,
Mr.
go ahead.
Mayor, Counselor Murray. The general penalty, that's what I was looking up. It's $500, up to $500. And it does not depend in any way on state. These are violations of ordinance. I don't think it's very unusual, would be very unusual for the municipal judge to levy a fine of up to $500. I think it sounds like it's appropriate. I actually looked up Heritage House during the discussion, and it said open till 9 o'clock.
We got an hour still.
They do have a short-term rental that is approved, so.
Without a CO?
It has a CO. That's a separate building.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you doing some?
I'm doing some more, sorry.
Okay, we're going to move on with the administrator's report.
All right, the next thing I'd like to bring up, just as an update, and you all have voted on it before, is the Public Safety Emergency Communication Center. If you'll recall, about a year and a half ago, we started talking about a divorce with Rio Rancho, wherein they said that they wanted a divorce essentially from the rest of Sandoval County as far as the Emergency Operations Center. And it was pretty much, they didn't want to negotiate it. They just said that it's going to happen. And they gave us a year and a half, gave the rest of the county, the rest of the communities in the county to do that. So working with Vic and Anthony and others of us in the administration, the process began as far as what the village of Corrales could do to make sure that the residents of Corrales had emergency, as we like to call it, PSEC operations, where you call in and you get a 911 call, you call in a 911 call, and you're talking to a dispatcher someplace, whether it's fire or police, and you want to make sure that it's coming directly into Corrales. So that's essentially what we were trying to do, because Rio Rancho had been running this for years, and they had a lot of equipment. So we had to go through several steps, including working with the state auditor to make sure that the properties were broken up correctly. The village of Corrales have been paying, and Anthony or Vic can correct me, have been paying well over $100,000 a year to be part of this. And so now the divorce is final, and the operations, we have a new building where this Emergency Operations Center sits. There's been a ribbon cutting and operations are in place. So I wanted Anthony and Vic to come up tonight and talk about their point of view as far as how it's operating, if there's a seamless transfer, or if there's things that we need to be aware of as citizens of Corrales going forward to see if we need to do anything as an administration or as a council to help them out to make sure the transfer is seamless.
Thank you, Administrator Curry, Mayor, Council. I think Administrator Curry kind of give you the background, the update. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about kind of where we're at and where we're heading, and hand it over to the police chief. So we have our new dispatch center is now receiving all the 911 calls. I know there was a holdup with Lumen and some other stuff. We were told in November they were able to kind of expedite it. Entities have been calling, trying to expedite it. So last week we did the transition. We did testing. We're still continuing testing. And so far it's working. I've been told today that a couple of cell towers, I don't know what carrier, but it's kind of jumping around. So the 911 call, if you call from a cell phone, is still going to one of the centers in Sandoval County. But that's okay because someone's still answering the emergency. And so I didn't get an update on staffing. I know that everyone, in every entity in this new center is doing their part with patients, working with everybody. We do have a firefighter with Corrales that we hired on that was a former dispatcher in the Sandoval County Regional Dispatch Center. And so Sandoval County opened up some part-time. So with the mayor's permission, we followed the local rules for outside employment. So on his days off, he's working at the dispatch center and just trying to take his expertise and help. So, we're all doing our part. I've been told with this new switch, we have 10 911 call or lines. We may not have 10 operators to answer that, but they're kind of roll over. So we do have 10 911 lines. We have multiple admin lines now. In the beginning, we had our non-emergency number transferred and there were limited phone numbers, but now we have multiple phone numbers going into the center. This is when they hired a consultant, it wasn't just for the transition of the dispatch center. It was also to clean up a lot of things. So one of the good things that's happening is with this consultant, they went through each jurisdiction and updated 911 maps. They've been here in Corrales multiple times. They've met with our planning and zoning administrator, myself, the police chief, and talking to the deputy manager in Sandoval County, it's making a difference. So now when you call 911 somewhere in Sandoval County, we have updated geocoded maps that will triangulate your position. So when you call 911, the operator is going to validate the emergency and also validate your positioning. So that's good stuff. That wasn't happening before, especially in the rural areas of Sandoval County where there are no roads or addresses. So it's a work in progress. They're not done. They're here for another year, just cleaning up certain things. And some of the technologies that we put into our new center, they have been beneficial. We are now getting dispatches to our cell phones as far as a program that we purchased. We're getting fire dispatching based on coding, which has been a national standard, but it wasn't available here locally, and we now have it in our center. So a lot of good things are happening in the field. We're all on a digital network now, so our communications, we do have a couple areas in Corrales that the digital transmission might break up a little bit. It kind of sounds kind of robotics or something where it kind of breaks up, but you just have to reposition yourself and then the transmission comes in clear. But so yeah, we're very pleased. We do have some things to work out. Next month, we have an executive meeting, a governance meeting, and we also are going to have an operationals meeting. And in the operations meeting, we're going to talk to all the field agents representatives, so police, fire, EMS, and then we're going to reevaluate our policies and procedures that we have and what we may have to kind of amend and change as we move forward. So it's a work in progress, but thank you for the opportunity to give you an update.
Thank you.
I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that, but thank you, Mayor, Council, and Ron.
Thank you both.
But yeah, the fire chief and I were both here in 2003 when we first consolidated dispatch services. It was just Sandoval County, Rio Rancho, and Corrales at the time. So luckily we had a little bit of experience in that respect. And for us, the divorce was relatively amicable, but Rio Rancho is just growing, too fast and too large. So they needed to focus on the city, and they did give us triple the required notice. They were only required to give 6 months, and we got 18. So, we had plenty of time to work on things. From a law enforcement perspective, the transition's been relatively seamless. The only change for us was it used to be just Corrales and Sandoval County Sheriffs for law enforcement on one channel, and then Bernalillo and Santa Ana on the other. And then we picked up a couple of the smaller agencies and Pueblos and so forth. Now we have all the law enforcement channels or agencies on one channel, and it hasn't increased the air traffic too much because Sandoval County, Corrales, and the town of Bernalillo do the majority of their communications by mobile data computers. And we're trying to encourage and help the smaller agencies and the Pueblos get on board with that program as well to limit the radio traffic and conserve the airtime for when it's really necessary. If it's something in progress, traffic stop, disturbance, those types of things. Obviously, we're going to use the radio so everybody knows where everybody is for safety purposes. But for routine things, adding notes to a call, disposition, and so forth, the officers just get on their computers in the car and add that information. They can run their driver's licenses in the cars, the license plates, and those types of things. So it has not been bad. It's been great, and it's actually enhanced our relationship with those other agencies that we didn't work with that often before, a little bit more. So so far so good. It's a work in progress, and we do have excellent communication and great working relationships with Sandoval County. So we're confident that it's only going to get better.
So, Anthony, how is the address situation here in the village? They helped a great deal improving that, right?
So,
Remember we had addresses
Yes.
that were incorrect?
Mayor, Council, so you've heard me before, that we do have address issues in the village of Corrales that, we've identified some that are, need to be fixed, working, with the planning and zoning office. So the first phase was they came through and just updated center lines of roads. So if you do call 911 on a cell phone, it kind of triangulates your positioning. With that, we made modifications to the mapping system. So the days of us getting a 911 call of it's on the ditch. Well, we have a lot of ditches. So we've taken MRGCD's data points and their mapping that they use for surveys, for irrigation, for turn gates, etc. We took their information and made it almost like a 911 addressing. So, for example, Andrews Lane, I think their positioning starts at the clear ditch and goes all the way north to like Sanchez Road. Each one of those has a point. And so now on our mapping, if someone calls on Andrews, it should triangulate to that ditch, and our dispatch should be able to dispatch us, whether it's law enforcement or fire, say it's coming up at Andrews Ditch or Andrews Drain. We did give aliases because we know that these have had multiple names over the years, and give us a nearest cross street. So it might be Andrews and Dixon or Andrews and West Meadowlark. So we've done a lot of that work. The next phase is you'll probably be hearing in the future from the consultant who has offered to come and talk to the council, the governing body, to address some of their concerns they've identified that might be imminent to change because someone may call 911. We do have homes that have multiple access points. And so we need to know which address to get dispatched to. You might have a home in between two roads and they have gates on two roads. So they got to pick one where we're going to get dispatched to. We have other homes that have been allowed to have access off of acequias, which isn't their legal access. And they try to dispatch us to an acequia, but really we're supposed to come in on the other side of the road. So those are things that we're going to try to fix as we move forward. So I hope that answers your question, Mayor.
Yes, absolutely. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So is the What Three Words app, is that integrated into this as well?
Mayor, Councilor, it is. So if you recall, we started that with the old center because of the address points and stuff and the What Three Words app. Now, if you call 911 on a cell phone, it could be an Android or an Apple, and it should give you a GPS coordinate, but it also gives you a What Three Word, the What Three Word positioning. So it gives the dispatcher multiple tools. If we are having a hard time locating, they could either give us the numeric GPS code, which can be confusing depending on the different types of whether it's decimals or UTM coordinates, or they can give us the What Three Word combination and we can type that in and it'll pinpoint it.
Okay. Also, if a call goes up to Rio Rancho, how much of a delay is there between the Rio Rancho side and ours?
Mayor, Council, I don't know what the delay might be. I know that both centers are all professionals and their job as a dispatcher is to receive that call, process that call, and dispatch the appropriate agency. So if Rio Rancho, for example, receives a call and realizes it's not in the city of Rio Rancho, they should hand that off very quickly.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Hey, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you're done?
Mayor? if I
Yes,
may-
sir. Councilwoman.
Yeah, so Ron, something new appeared in our packet this week. And I'd like to thank Animal Services and you for including the summary of the activities of Animal Services. So it's a nice narrative, what they're doing, the grants they're applying for, and it's really very helpful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Coriolis Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or a concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker.
Up first, Mayor, is Tessa Davidson. Tessa, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Tessa Davidson, 132 Perea Road. I'm here to address this Friday's mayor's message and circulating correspondence from the village administration regarding water rights matters facing the village. Before I proceed, I want to acknowledge that I'm a water rights attorney, and for over 30 years, I've worked with various entities and individuals in the Middle and Lower Rio Grande basins on matters regarding the purchase, sale, and transfer of water rights to New Mexico's major municipalities and smaller communities. With that said, I'm here today on behalf of myself as a resident of Corrales. I'm here to offer facts, not legal advice. And when it comes to water matters, I want for nothing more than the village to succeed. So it's good to hear that the village is getting its current illegal water uses into compliance. However, I'm very concerned that the village's proposal to purchase and transfer groundwater rights with a 1956 priority date will be an uphill battle, and even if it's successful, will only result in future uncertainty. The mayor stated in his message that 1956 groundwater rights are junior only to Pueblos and pre-1907 water rights. This is not correct. There are a number of water rights in the Middle Rio Grande that were perfected between 1907 and 1956. But more importantly, this claim ignores that the MRGCD itself owns permitted surface water rights with a 1930 priority date to irrigate 42,000 acres of land. This amounts to 126,000 acre feet of surface water. In fact, many Corrales residents use 1930 MRGCD water rights and don't own pre-1907s. The MRGCD and the farmers that rely on those rights have a very strong interest in protecting surface water from junior groundwater depletions. Village administration also claims that 1956 groundwater rights would give the village the same value as pre-1907 rights at half the cost because the state engineer cannot respond to a priority call unless a final adjudication decree is issued by a court. This is also incorrect. In 2003, the legislature gave the state engineer authority to administer priorities absent a final adjudication. And this is exactly what's happening right now to my farmers in the Lower Rio Grande, who have been using groundwater to irrigate up to 35,000 acres of farmland since the 1950s. They are now fighting to use their pre-basin groundwater rights because they have priorities later than 1903, and that's under the current settlement restrictions in the Rio Grande Compact case. These days, there is no such thing as a senior groundwater right, and especially if it postdates the 1939 Rio Grande Compact. Additionally, the mayor's message paints an overly optimistic picture of a bleak reality. Given the trend in reduced surface water supply over the last 25 years, New Mexico has a heightened concern with its ability to meet its compact obligations to Texas, who is right now, making threats to sue New Mexico over compact violations in the Middle Valley. New Mexico is motivated to keep the Rio Grande at depletions at 1939 levels, not 1956 levels. And for all of these reasons, I urge the village to switch gears and seek pre-1939 water rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Sam Thompson. Sam, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Sam Thompson, 1737 Camino de la Tierra. Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry, I'm here to tell you a story about an incident that happened at Harvest Festival this year. I learned about this just last week. A friend of mine told me that she and her mother came to Harvest Festival. It's the first time either one of them had been to Corrales. They walked around, they looked at art, they did all kinds of things. And then they walked over to a hay wagon to get on it. And the wagon master said, do you have a wristband? And my friend said, what wristband? She had no idea. And neither did her mother. And the gal was very kind to her. And she said, well, when you pay for admission, you get a wristband. And she said, I just assumed you must have had one because that area you just came out of required a wristband. And my friend said, gee, I didn't know. Ran over immediately, bought tickets, got a wristband. She said to me, she said, everyone was so kind to me. We spent over an hour in an area we were supposed to pay to get into, and nobody said anything. They were just nice. They were warm. She said, I've never felt so welcomed, so accepted, so safe in an area before. I don't know who was working that day, but all I can say is thank you. You see, my friend is Palestinian. Her mother was leaving 2 days later to go back home to the West Bank. Feeling welcomed, feeling safe is something she hadn't felt in a long time. And I just want to say, we've got some good people here in Corrales that were able to give this to two strangers. So thank you.
It's a really good story. Sam, thanks for that story.
Okay, up next is Marg Ellison. Marg, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, if I can get this to reset. You will have 3 minutes.
I'm Marg Elliston. I live at 472 Priestley Road. I came here tonight to urge you to promulgate some really firm parking regulations so we could control what's going on at the Heritage House. That's my neighborhood. I think the discussion covered the bases, and I just want to say that our neighborhood would really appreciate you all coming up with some fines or penalties for people who ignore our regulations, and so we can throw a big book at them, because I'm always shocked to know that people can't be trusted. So we'd like to see a good neighbor in the Heritage House, and one that obeys the parking restrictions that planning and zoning tried to put on them when they were approved for all their development. I also wanted to point out that they've been approved for a lot of short-term rental space in that Heritage House. And so they're working as an inn as well. But in addition to the Heritage House, there are at least 2 other properties in our neighborhood that are short-term rentals. And I'm concerned that we get too much of a concentration of short-term rentals in a neighborhood. And I know that that's a real destabilizing factor. So I hope that when we have some study or controls over how many short-term rentals can be in one block in Corrales, or 2 blocks or 3, because it's becoming an issue for us, and I'm sure for others in Corrales as well. Thank you for all your hard work and keeping us safe and quiet.
Okay. Next is Mary Boliak. I apologize if I've totally mispronounced your name. Please correct me and give us your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
That's fine. My name is Mary Bolick. Close enough. I live at 54 Priestley Road. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing this opportunity to speak. And I would like to also speak on the parking issue that Council Planning and Zoning has vetted as an issue, and sort of put this issue through the ringer with their work study sessions that we attended. There were good discussions, a lot of recommendations were made, questions asked. So I'm really looking forward to this body talking about parking and parking signs, no parking signs. It's a long-term issue that's finally coming to where the rubber hits the road, or maybe the rubber shouldn't hit the road. And the more clear we can be to the public that comes into our community, the better. You've seen now from what's come up earlier in discussion about certain business that this is not just the Heritage House. It happens throughout the village, throughout the mixed use area. It's sort of come in a circle. In a circle, we finally understand where the weak point is, and that is that police cannot enforce parking in this village without parking signs and without a clear ordinance on those signs that says what's the actual ticket for. So we call police, they come and they don't know what to cite for. And so we do go round and round. This is where we need to beef up the ordinance. And if that can be possible, it would be wonderful. You know, we don't like parking signs, but we're willing to give up the aesthetics to create a safer environment in our neighborhood. It's a tool for everyone. It provides clarity for everyone so they know what is expected. A lot of these events happen on the weekend. Well, our building inspector is gone on the weekend, everyone gets the weekend off. The only people who really are on are the police officers. And so if they have the tools and they know what to do, then we feel we have protection. And it's a good protection for the people who come to the businesses. It's protecting them as well. They're crossing our streets. They're having to deal with a place that they don't know. So this is a safety issue. It's not really about residential versus business. It's about safety. And we've seen a lot of incidents of real near misses. So thank you so much for taking this up in discussion. I look forward to all that you have to offer on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Up next is Teresa Lopez. Teresa, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
No, not yet. Not yet. Almost. Okay. Everybody hear me? Okay, this is a Teresa Lopez message that is truthfully only my thoughts that I have put into my words and have the courage to speak about tonight and to be heard here on Zoom and on YouTube in the next few days if it's not edited out or taken down. I'm allowed to speak freely, and these words are not factually incorrect. Your words, Mayor. I speak with Johnny's words, transparency, honesty, and respect. There's those 3 words again. Most everyone in this village on both sides of the campaign know about the stolen campaign sign incident with proof that happened on October 17th involving Taya Davidson, a young attorney, and Kim Stewart, president of Corrales Kiwanis. Taya's letter is in the comment. The next information is on the Kiwanis website. Part of their pledge is to uphold the objects of KC International. This includes prioritizing human values, encouraging the daily living of the Golden Rule, and promoting high social business and professional standards. Their vision is to be a positive influence in communities worldwide, and this also includes Corrales, New Mexico. I feel it's a shame and very disappointing that a civic organization that has done so much for Corrales children, including my own granddaughter, who was able to go to camp because of the Corrales Kiwanis, may be tarnished by the actions of this leader who took an oath to do the above and didn't on October 17th. Most every voting adult knows that it is very illegal to steal campaign signs, including the ones that are placed with permission. I have to tell you, I adjusted one of your signs by the post office that had fallen over next to Fred's. I could have left it the way it was, but I did the right thing. I fixed the wire so it wouldn't fall again. I was taught and still try to follow the golden rule. I feel it as if Teresa Lopez or any other Corraleño, our name would have been immediately all over in the media and on paper in a very negative way and probably charged with theft. This was brought to your attention, and as far as I know, there hasn't been any action from you. No apology, no return of the sign, which was stolen property from anyone. This is not an incident that should be pushed under the rug and forgotten or laughed at, as was the video of the road rage incident with the guy that could have gotten killed across the street from the Sandia bar, but you all just blatantly laughed at the whole thing. Your words in the mayor's message are, be kind, thoughtful, and considerate. I don't know of anyone who thought that was funny, but you guys sure did. I found out where he worked, talked to his boss, and made sure he was okay, but that's just who I am. I hope this ugliness doesn't keep happening in our village. As I've said before, I feel Corrales isn't the safest place because some people don't even get close to following the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Again, this is only a Teresa Lopez message, so please, no rumors.
That, excuse me, that's it, Mayor.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll move on to the counselors forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate. To inform the governing body of an issue or a concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session, a council member may respond to an issue or a concern brought up by a resident in the preceding Corralinos forum, but to remain in compliance with the Open Meeting Act, the subject will not be up for debate or discussion. Who wants to start? Councilor Waldman?
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned in previous meetings, Tara Trafton, a member of the extended Saucy family, has created a survey to determine what Corralinos would like to see or not see as part of the restoration of Saucy Park. The survey is available as part of the mayor's message of last Friday. I'd like to thank everyone who's taken time to fill out the survey. We have about 90 responses so far.
Wow.
The goal is to gather as many responses and have follow-up meetings to refine a response to the National Park Service to let them know what we'd like included. We hope to submit the findings in early December. I'd also like to thank Lynn Sievert for arranging a meeting for members of the Saucy Park Restoration Team to provide historical context on previous efforts. So thank you, Mayor. And I think we're looking good. We're moving forward.
December?
December, we have a.
We have a date?
We have an anvil over our head from our esteemed commanders.
I know Tanya can be tough.
Tanya can be very tough, but also somewhat helpful at times. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Knight?
Thank you, Mayor. I was on a Zoom meeting Friday, October 17th with an update on the Rio Metro ABQ ride consolidation. They had a woman named Madeline Perez from a company named Hewlett and Zoller talking about different ways to consolidate ABQ ride and Rio Metro. It went from leave it as the status quo right now, two separate agencies, to full consolidation. The big sticking point, I think, in the middle is that ABQ Ride gets its funds through the state and Rio Metro gets its funds through the federal government.
Okay.
Another thing they talked about that would be helpful, right now, the board of Rio Metro, which I'm on, is all people that have been elected officials, where they need to get some people who are riders of these, either the Rail Runner or ABQ Ride, instead of just people that probably don't use it as much as riders do. Also, another sticking point would be that ABQ Ride is a union shop and Rio Metro is not. So there would be lots of things that have to be done to organize that. So just a little quick note about that. I have some questions about P and Z. Do you want me to hold them off until later?
You're gonna come talk to us again. Yes, why don't we wait until we get to
Okay.
get to the subject?
Well, then I'm done.
Anyone else? Stuart, Councilor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll save the comment about traffic. We can wait until we get to that part of it. Also, at our last Metropolitan Transportation Board meeting, some of the members of the Mr. Cog attended a conference down in Las Cruces, and they talked about the Safe Streets to School. And so they're going to come back hopefully with a report for the MTB because we're interested in that. We want to find out what they learned as well. And also, I want to thank a lot of the businesses, and KOB TV has put up a map that with the SNAP food subsidy coming to a close. These businesses are stepping up and offering to feed the kids. And KOB has put a map up of the state of New Mexico and all these businesses that are going to contribute these meals to kids. I think you have to be there present in person, but I think it's a great deal. I mean, I hate to see the SNAP program come to an end. I mean, just because of the lack of funds, but check out the KOB website. They've got a really nice map and they got balloons and all these businesses. And so check them out. And if you support these businesses because they are going to help our kids out.
So Melanie, did we decide we could put that on our website?
I don't have a way to link to the KOB site, but we can link it in the mayor's message and then that will be on the website.
So we'll do that. We also talked about that today, what we can do here in the village to be supportive of situations where people are food insecure.
Well, I sent a message up to the Krause comment. I said, you need to get this word out too. And I gave him the link to the KOB link as well. So hopefully this will get out.
So if you want to donate food, Roadrunner comes on third
Wednesday of the month.
Third Wednesday of the month over at Academy. Did I say
And
that?
Sandia View Academy.
Okay. And from what times?
So 2 to 3 for those on Zoom that can't hear Tanya.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll try to get that in the message too. All right. Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the last meeting, proclamation 25-08, Small Business Saturday. Approval of resolution 25-44, which is a budget adjustment resolution. And then resolution 2545, which is a lodger's tax disbursement for the Winter Craft Show by the Corrales Historical Society. Does anybody want to remove anything from, do I get a motion to approve? We're going to go through this thing again. Get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Does anybody want to amend that by taking something out of the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
We do need a roll call vote, please, Mayor. So we have 2 resolutions. Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I knew there would be a sticking point. Okay, Councilor.
Sorry to be the stick in the
How
mud.
do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Burkett,
Yes.
Councilor Knight, Councilor Woolman.
Aye.
Councilor Mira.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, new business. Consideration action approval of resolution 25-46, clean and lean for track 93B of map 18 within section 27, township 12N, range 3E in the village of Corrales. Do I get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
So we have a motion, and a second. Now, Lori, were you going to talk about this?
A little bit, if I could.
Okay, absolutely.
And you're going to hear from me a lot this evening. I'll try to be succinct. Counselors, in your packets, I have a summary. I'll just run through it really quickly of kind of the history. So this clean and lean resolution that we're requesting approval on covers map 18 tract 93B. It's also known as 744 Old Church Road, or at least part of it is, but we have the legal description in there because this particular property is odd. It's long and narrow. It runs from Corrales Road west all the way to Old Church. There's actually an acequia that bisects it. That is not part of it, but the county considers it one tract with one UPC code. This property has been subject of code enforcement efforts forever. Prior to when I came here, and since, and it's gotten nowhere, including citation, all the way up to a citation. And that's why clean and lean is the last resort when we throw up our hands and say, you're going to see in a minute how bad it really is. Just a few comments. An unpermitted tough shed was moved onto the Corrales Road frontage around late June, early July, and we believe a gentleman was and may still be living in there, along with piles of junk, household items, trash, wood, etc. We think the owner's son was living in the shed. His whereabouts now are undetermined, but he's still around. We know he's still around. So building official Brian Gresham put a stop work order on the property, said, you're putting in a shed, you're doing all this stuff, no permits. That was ignored, of course. There is a window unit air conditioner on the tough shed. I actually saw that yesterday. Brian also asked the city of Rio Rancho, who does our electric and plumbing permitting, to not issue any electric or plumbing permits there. So we don't know how this air conditioner is run, but maybe there's a cord running from somewhere else I didn't see. I will also state that the Corrales Police Department has responded to this property a few times in 2025 for issues such as battery and domestic abuse. They and I both believe there may be people other than the resident, who is Mr. Silva, and perhaps his caregiver, who live on this property, perhaps in sheds, perhaps in old RVs. The neighbors can probably speak to that better than I, because when we've done our 2 site visits, there was no one in these structures, at least that we were able to see. I will also point out that one of the, so the owner's son was on the property this past Friday and caused a ruckus. He assaulted someone on the property who was being paid to help clean up. There was an arrest. He was in jail. I don't know if he's out or not. So one thing that'd be very important, if this clean and lean is approved, we have already, or will make arrangements. They've agreed with Sandoval County sheriffs to provide security to the site as companies that we contract with go in and clean up. I'll also say, I did a check with New Mexico Environmental Department, and they said they have 0 septic permits on the property, none. So as legally required, I had sent a first notice of violation myself to the property owners. It's owned by a trust. So the gentleman who lives there is Mr. Silva, he's part owner, and then a Horst Wellbat who lives in California. I sent notices saying we were contemplating requesting a clean and lean resolution. Here's what's wrong, please clean it up. I got an email back from Mr. Wellbat in California who said, well, I'll try. And of course, nothing happened. That was in August when I sent that first letter. On October 3rd, I did send a second certified letter when we did have this date in mind for the clean and lean, and say this is going to happen on this date. Obviously, they can come before you and talk as well. That seemed to get a little attention because some things have been moved around. I'll put it at that. On October 6th, Officers Chavez and Cervantes and I visited the site with the permission of Mr. Silva. The site visit covered the portion of the property that runs from Old Church Road up to the Acequia only. And we have some lapel cam video. And I'll just walk you through it. It's not super long, just so you can get it. So this is walking from west to the east. It's a long, narrow property. There's just piles of junk. That shed that was just in view, I think that was the one that had a mattress in it. But you can just see there's just stuff piled along either side of the property. You know, cars that don't run, trash, junk, household items, tires, everything you can imagine is on this property. I did try to stay out of the picture unsuccessfully, I see. We just walked from one end to the other, and I apologize that we were walking into the sun, but hopefully you can get an idea. I think that's the shed that had a bunk bed in it with a mattress. There was no human being on it when we walked by. There was a mattress. And you can just see, I almost don't need to say anything. It's just stacked up. There's a long, narrow path that one can drive down, and that's it. That's an old RV there. I have not been able to see in the entirety of it. It had some stuff in it when we looked in initially, and then it didn't. You can see some old cars, and now we're getting into piles of sticks. And there's so many of them. We're going to see more. They just run forever. Piles and mounds of sticks. This is highly flammable, obviously. It's right up against a wooden fence, and you can see there's a neighboring property right there, a house just on the other side. But I think on that first site visit, I counted about maybe a little less than 30 cars, most of which appeared to be very inoperable. One of them was melted. But there's more piles of sticks. I don't understand what that's all about, but piles and piles and mounds of sticks. It's not firewood. It's just branches, I guess. So we walked all the way down. It actually got a little less messy. That's another vehicle that obviously is not running. We also encountered a gentleman on the lot who is apparently mechanic and is supposed to be fixing up the cars. And the officers did also make sure there was no one living in the car as we walked by. That was one of the ones that was melted. The front end was just, obviously there'd been a fire, but you can see the sticks go on and on and on. And then this is us walking back. There was a gentleman who met us. He was not hostile. He was friendly. He said he was helping. But that's what this looks like. And it's going to be a massive cleanup effort. So I do want to say that Mr. Silva is elderly. He's on oxygen. We have no intention of disrupting his home or him. It's just, I think he's being taken advantage of by some people who bring things. His caregiver did say he was a bit of a hoarder, and his son very obviously is. After the summary page that I gave you, there were a few letters from some folks who live nearby, and some photos that they took. But hopefully that video gives you an idea of what's going on. And I will also say that the new code enforcement officer who's sitting right here, his name is Dennis Edil. He and I went to the site yesterday, again with permission. This time we did see the portion along Corrales Road. There were people there cleaning up. There was a dumpster full of items, but my understanding is that the son pulls the items right back out of the dumpster and puts them back on the lot. There were still a lot of cars. I think perhaps 2 had disappeared. The piles of sticks were still there. I don't want to say nothing's happened because obviously they're there doing something, but it looks the same to me as it did before. I don't want to make sure I don't miss anything. I guess in closing, I just want to say, if you have any questions, please ask, but we do respectfully request passage of this clean and lean resolution because I think that's the only option we have left at this point. Oh, there are 5 people who want to speak.
Okay. Who, you have the names there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, first we'll have Pamela Whitney. Pamela, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Pamela Whitney. I live at 942 Old Church Road. I am Mr. Silver's next door neighbor, one of many. This is an issue that has been going on for, I understand from my other neighbors who've lived there a very long time, 25 plus years. Our biggest concern after the fires in California in Pacific Palisades were the fact that this is such a flammable property, not only endangering us who live nearby, but we have with over 50 tires, as Chief Anthony addressed on September 9th, this would burn for a long time, and it would actually cause an evacuation, not just of us as neighbors, but a portion of Corrales, depending on which way the wind would be blowing, and they would burn for days. And those are highly hazardous, toxic pieces of equipment. We also have over 20 abandoned cars. They haven't moved since I moved in, and my daughter's lived there for over 20 years, me over almost 3. We had these piles and piles of sticks, much taller than me. We are sure we see rats, and we are worried about hantavirus. Even when they're going to be taken off the property, those rats are going to scatter all over the community because they've had a nice home for a very long time. I want to address the homeless people living on the property. And the reason I know they are there is they're there for 2 or 3 days. We understand they've made a deal. Okay, I'll come and clean the property. Give me a place to live for 2 or 3 nights. And I know this because the dogs change regularly. I know which dogs belong to the owner and which ones are there just to enjoy the place for a few days while their people who are homeless are living in those abandoned pieces of equipment that Lori just showed you. I've also seen, because there's no sewer permits, I've also seen people take piles and buckets and dump them into the ditch, particularly when there's water running into the ditch. So I'm assuming that's feces and urine that's going into the ditch property because there's nowhere else for it to go and they're living on the property. You've had people before you in our great village who've had an opportunity to deal with this. It's a big project. It's big. They've just kicked the can down the road for a long, long time, and you have an opportunity here tonight to take care of this once and for all, not just for the surrounding neighbors and our health and safety for us and our children and grandchildren, but for the community at large. We ask you very, very sincerely to vote yes for this, to be taken care of once and for all. It's an eyesore for us and the whole community, but more importantly, it's a health and safety hazard for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Glenn Hinchcliffe. Glenn, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Glenn, are you still here? Okay, then we'll move on to Cherie Leonard Wink. If you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, council. There we go.
Yeah, you can, yeah, there you go.
I'm Cherie Leonard Wink. I live at 394 Dixon and have an acre, my husband and I have an acre at 942A Old Church Road. When we are neighbors of Mr. Silva, I must say, when we first moved in, he was the first person to help me. I wish him no ill will, but the property is a safety and sanitary issue, and it needs to be resolved. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Sherry.
Next is Amy Clement. Amy, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Amy Clement, 942 Old Church Road.
Oh,
A little tall. So I just want to say I have 8 and 9-year-old boys. I brought them to Corrales to give them this idyllic village that we all live in. It is nothing personal whatsoever. They have never been anything but neighborly, that we don't really talk to each other, but they've never been bothersome. But the fire hazard junk and tires and trash just is building since we bought it in 2010, where I believe it's overwhelming for them. They don't know where to start or how to start. And I think it's bigger than them. I don't think they are capable of cleaning it themselves. So I urge you please to move forward with this action.
Thank you.
And last is Angela Arzadeh. And Angela, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Angela Arzavi. I'm at 770 Old Church Road. My concern is mostly the fire hazard and the past, if we have more rodents and things like that. Anyways, Mr. Silver's always been a very nice gentleman to our neighbors, and like I said, this is nothing personal. Thank you.
Okay, that's everyone, Mayor. Oh, on behalf of Mr. Silva? Yeah. If you could state your name and address for the record, we will give you 3 minutes as well.
Yes, my name is Kimberly Delaney and my address is 744 Old Church Road. I'm also Mr. Silva's caregiver. Okay, when I first started, yes, we understand the property is a mess and across the ditch is a mess also, but we've been concentrating so much on the first property where his son was residing. He was no longer there. He was actually in jail right now, and he's been evicted from the property. Since that, we weren't able to do much because he was taking stuff out of the trash cans, but we've eliminated that problem. And Mr. Silva has hired multiple people to help with the Krause Road address. And I don't know how they could say it, nothing's been done, because it looks 100%, not 100%, but like at least 50% better than it did before. We've gotten rid of 2 rollaway dumpsters already, and we haven't moved anything from that property to the back property whatsoever, because we understand that also needs to be addressed. So we have a crew of 3 people on the Old Church side and 3 people on the Corrales Road side, continually working, sometimes well into the evening, to get this situated. We understand the neighbors' concerns, and Mr. Silva's only one person, and we do have a mechanic on site who is fixing the cars, but he just started not that long ago. He's already repaired, restored 3 cars, and 4 of the cars, we're waiting for titles to come, and we'll have those removed by UPullet as soon as they get there, the titles. And as for people living in the sheds, there is nobody living in the sheds. I'm not sure why they think that. We do, when we have company, we have company. We do have people helping, like I said, well into the night, because this is a big project, and we understand what needs to be done. And the front property is pretty much almost completed, done. And I have pictures on my phone, if I could send them to the village, by email possibly, to let you know the work that we have done. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. But we are definitely, our efforts are trying to clean up the properties, and it is a big project. So we just need a little bit more time. If we could get a little bit more time to get this done, and we'll prove to you that we can do this. The front property, it's already, and actually, since I started, I've already cleaned up that front property, like, because we just sold an acre of it, and I had like 3 years ago cleaned up that property, and they passed it, they approved it through code enforcement. So, and then we didn't even know anything about the other property. They didn't say anything about that one. And actually, the other owner of the property does live in California, so we can't understand why the letters were going to him and we didn't get anything told what we had to be cleaning up or anything. So they sent us, they actually sent us by certified mail, Horst Walbat sent it to us, and 2 notices. They said they couldn't get a hold of us, but no, someone's always at the house. But anyway, so we went to the post office to go find the letter, and they said they lost it. The post office lost the letter. So we had no idea that we had to clean it up on the August 15th letter. So Horst had to resend it to us. So we didn't get the notice until like 3 weeks ago, and we started promptly to clean up that neighborhood. If you can look at the property off of Cross Road, you'll see a big difference. So anyways, if you can give us a little bit more time, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's everyone, Mayor.
Is that everyone? Okay. Yeah, anyone have a question? Councilor Burkett?
2 thoughts. One is this weekend I saw a fire up on the front part of the property, and I think they were probably, I mean, it was controlled, but it certainly made me nervous that there was this much flammable stuff adjacent to even a controlled fire, because one gust of wind in a controlled fire becomes uncontrolled pretty quickly. So that's a point of concern. The second thing I want to say is this comes across as a punitive action. There's no other way to be looked at for this, but it sounds like you guys want to clean up the property. So it's possible to reframe this as some help. What I would like to see, and I don't know what the rules are. I mean, the vehicles on the property have value. So I want to make sure whatever we're doing, that they can get the value from those things that are taken off and potentially offset the lien that's going to be charged to clean up this property, because that's really what would be good for everybody in the neighborhood, is if this is not a financial burden to them, but we clean things up and we make it safe.
Anthony, did you want to say something?
Mayor, council, I share those concerns. We were unaware that they called the burn line. The property address came up. We got dispatched on Sunday evening to an outdoor fire after burning hours. The crews responded, informed them of the burning rules. I went out yesterday. They had another fire. They called the burn line but didn't register it. But we have met on site. The fire was extinguished. They understand that there's no permissible burning anywhere on the property from Corrales Road all the way to Old Church. And that's what we discussed yesterday. So we talked about if they're going to get rid of materials, it has to be hauled off in a dumpster, but fire is not a way to get rid of the materials because of the danger. Yep.
I mean, would it be helpful to have a large crew come in and do this for you guys? It seems like this is a much larger project than the 2 of you are capable of.
You please, could you come up and talk, please?
It is not just the 2 of us. We have a crew that is coming in, that has been coming in, and we've only been doing this for 3 weeks.
I
I
am
mean-
certain our crew will be more effective and
Well-
get it done quicker.
Well, I understand that, but he has a lot of valuable stuff and he has a lot of heirlooms and he has a lot of things that people are just gonna go in there and throw away. If we could just throw everything in the trash, it would be easy. We'd have it done by now.
My
But that's the
advice,
problem is that there's
focus on
things.
those heirlooms in the short term and secure those because the rest of it's a lot of work and it seems like it'd be a lot easier to have someone else just take care of it in one swoop. But I agree with you. The heirlooms, the things of value, put your focus there in the short term.
Yes, Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor.
What end of the property would you be starting on?
That's the decision hadn't been made yet. We're still discussing.
Okay, well, you'll see when you go to the Corrales Road property that there's not much to be done. We've done almost everything. Everything's almost cleared out of there. We have about 3 more loads of recyclable stuff that we'll be taking this week. And maybe 2 more to the dump and that property will be fine. No one's staying in any of the sheds there. It's not being used as a house. It does have an air conditioner on it because we bought it like that. It came like that with a cord because whoever had it before us was using it as a home. It has no electricity there and that's a whole nother story. But anyways, and a lot of that, the piles of dirt back there are covered by, or the sticks and stuff are covered by dirt because it's for mulch. But, so, and they're not that high. They're probably shorter than I am.
Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a question for you. What is the relationship to Mr. Silva and Mr. Welbeck?
They were brother-in-laws, ex-brother-in-laws, but
And so Mr. Welbeck, I mean, what's the relationship into the trust? Because when I looked at the Sandoval County parcel map,
Mhm.
they listed the trust, family trust, and then Mr. Silva. So who actually owns the property? Because the tax information I got was it's going to California.
they both own the property. It's in both of their names. Walbett took his half and made it into a trust. And then Mr. Silva has his land and whatever he has in it.
Okay, how do you respond then to the septic issue of no septic tank being issued or licensed for that property?
On the Corrales side, because 744 Old Church Road is where he lives, Mr. Silva lives, and there's plumbing, electrical, it's a regular, it's a
The
regular
house I
residence.
saw was on next to Old Church. And anyway, I want to know how you respond to the lack of septic on that property.
There is no lack of septic on that property. On the Corrales Road property where his son was residing,
How you get across the ditch then? Because you can't have a septic system on one side of a ditch and a property house on another. The septic system has to be adjacent to the house, I would think, because you have to run a line.
well, no one was living on the other side until we had the tough shed. And he wasn't staying there very long and he was going to his dad's to take a shower.
Material. I think this issue has gone on for years, it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like. I hate to, I don't want to, let's put it this way. I don't want to have to come down on Mr. Silva because, he has a right to live on his property, but he has to maintain that property as well. I
Which
mean,
property are you talking about? I know it's I know it's one property and that's the
there
village's
is
problem
only
for,
one,
okay.
according to this resolution, and that is from Old Church to Corrales Road.
Okay, well, there's only one house then, and it does have plumbing and it has electric, a regular house like everybody else's.
You have a septic system.
Yes, we have a septic
And when
system.
was the last time it was pumped?
When was the last time it was pumped? It's not backed up or anything.
Well,
Ask the neighbors, does our house ever smell like bad? Like we have sewage going anywhere? It's not, the sewage is not the issue
but.
on our side.
Well, but it could be because one, if you're dumping sewage into the irrigation ditch, that is a no-no.
Okay, well,
Are you his power of attorney?
yes, I am.
Okay. Are you looking after his finances as well?
No. I am, I do his finances, he tells me what to do and I do it, yes. I look after them.
I had to sell the property because of getting harassed and what, so I had to sell it.
He's talking about the acre next to the Old Church Road.
But
So when
it
you-
really concerns me that the owner of the property who's paying the property taxes, I was hoping they might be online tonight so we could ask them questions as well, because I think it's the owner responsibility to take care of that property. And if the person paying the property taxes is the owner, I mean, yeah,
They
trust,
both pay property taxes, they split it. So
I'm sorry, say that again.
we split the property taxes, they both pay.
Well, according to Sandoval County, the only one person pays that property tax.
That's incorrect. We can go back and I can get paperwork that states differently.
Okay.
This last year, Horst paid it. The year before that, Mr. Silva paid it. They just take turns and they figure it out that way.
Well, anyway, I think this issue's gone on long enough. Now, Mr. Burkett, Councilor Burkett brings up a good point. If there's any value in the vehicles, yes, we need to accommodate getting those, that value out of there for you. But it seems to me that this has been a 25-year plus issue. It's gone on way too long and we need to do something about it. Now, the fact is, if we can get a crew in there and then clean it up, it absolves you of having to take care of that. If we get a crew in there and really, removes things, you're better off. You are far better off because one, you're eliminating the fire hazard and you're getting rid of the junk that's there. You take care of what you consider heirlooms, pull them out.
The only place I had that little strip, and now I gotta sell that. Pay for the tree.
I'm sure, sir, I'm having a hard time understanding you.
He said all he has left is that strip and now he has to sell that to pay for the cleanup.
Well, did he not also own the property that just got sold? I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Counselors, I believe there's also a property north of Calle Blanca, a 7-acre property.
Gave him a 50 by 200 feet to connect Calle Blanca to the other, to Mission Valley. I gave it to him.
He just feels like he should maybe get a little bit of leniency in return for that.
Anyway, in my opinion, I think this has gone on long enough.
Okay, well, in the bidding, are they gonna pick the lowest bidding? Can we find a cleanup crew, a professional cleanup crew to do it? Because it's like putting, we don't even know how much this is gonna cost. And maybe we could find, not our crew that we're using now, because they're just people that we know that are just coming to help and get paid. But I'm talking about a professional crew like you would have come through.
I mean, I don't want to speak for Lori, but my hunch is if a cleanup crew shows up and the property's been cleaned, then you're not going to get billed for anything.
So we should continue our efforts in cleaning.
Only if you can finish it, because if it's not done, I think we have a safety responsibility to finish it. So unless you can finish it before we start it, because it'll get finished quickly if we vote yes on this. But yeah, if you guys can do it quicker, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Counselors, if you approve this, there is a very short 10-day waiting period. Some notices have to be given. The village obviously will have to contract with folks who do this for a living, bring in semi trucks and load stuff up and carry it off. So there can be parallel efforts. In the meantime, they can keep doing what they're doing. But you saw those sticks. I mean, semi truckloads of sticks. Never mind the rest of it. So it's going to take a while anyway, but there could be parallel efforts. Anything they do is something we don't have to do as a village.
Do we have an estimate of how much it would cost to clean?
No.
Councilor Waltman?
There is a lot of firewood also back there that we use as firewood to keep warm, so. We can separate that from everything else, that's fine. But I feel like the Krause Road, the part of the property closest to Krause Road is not going to be an issue at all. So that's going to need to be cleaned up because it's already cleaned up. On the other side, yes, we probably do need a little bit of help, but we either help or we need a little bit more time. We can get it done if we have a little bit more time. I guarantee we could.
Will you be able
We've
to
only been
move-
really trying this last 3 weeks. You know what I mean? We've got a lot done in 3 weeks. If we had more time, we could get a lot more done, but we were not aware of the situation, basically.
Councilor Waltman?
Thank you, Mayor. Lori, perhaps you could help us with this. Could you define what clean and lean means in terms of standards? In other words, we saw pictures, we saw the video, there's an awful lot of stuff there. What could remain? What has to be taken away? Is it just strictly a fire and safety concern? Or is there another standard that has to be met?
There's another standard, and in the language of the clean and lean, it talks about unpermitted buildings such as that tough shed. The tough shed would have to go away. Piles of tires, piles of trash, piles of, the sticks, household goods that are just sitting out in the elements.
So nobody's allowed to own a tough shed?
Tough shed is unpermitted
How
and has
come?
someone living in it. So yes.
No one is living in it.
Well, it's unpermitted.
He hasn't been evicted. He can't go back to the property. Lori.
Anyway, the clean and lean states the types of items that can be removed. And, the village is reasonable. Mr. Silva's home, we don't touch his home. If he has a personal vehicle or Mr. Laney has a personal vehicle, obviously that stays. And CPD can go out and has gone out on previous clean and leans and run the VINs. If the car is not operable and it's not licensed and insured to someone legally living on that property or visiting for the day, it goes away. And there's a process for that. So obviously we're going to tackle the things that are very obvious hazards first and just work our way. And that will give them ample time to save anything that's considered valuable or a treasure.
So if we were to vote today to approve this clean and lean, 10 days for Mr. Silva to try to do what he can, what's the next step? Where do we go from there? You come back and you inspect to make sure it meets the certain standards. If it doesn't, where do we go from there?
Well, what happens with these clean and leans is there's some legal notices that go out after the resolution is approved, assuming approval. We at the village get bids. That takes some time. We arrange for these companies to come in and we tell them, we need these sticks removed. We need all these tires removed. The cars are dealt with. There's some old, I would just call them old junky RVs on the property. Are they insured? Are they licensed? Do they run? Do they move or not? It's going to be a tremendous amount of work just really identifying some of this stuff, but there's also obvious things that can be dealt with right away. But it's going to take a little time for the companies to be lined up and for us to award the bid. And in the meantime, I would hope that they would continue, obviously, doing their cleanup efforts.
As for the cars, the ones that you really, really was trying to restore, and he has restored 3 of them, we're prepared to go and with the Sandoval County and do an affidavit and complete some affidavits for okay, I understand that, for restoration through the county of Sandoval County, and that would permit us to be able to restore the cars that are valuable. He's got like 4 of them that are super valuable that he would like to restore. And the
If I
rest of them
may,
can go.
I would also mention that Village of Corralis's ordinances and our judge have only permitted 1 inoperable vehicle at a time on a given property. 1. For restoration purposes or whatever.
Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
Is there any way to give an estimate of how much it might cost for a contractor to come in and to do this over time?
I would be fearful of trying to do that
Okay, that's
because
fine.
there's so much.
Yeah.
There's so
It's
much.
kind of hard to get rid of 80 years of collecting stuff in 3 weeks. I mean, you got to give us a little bit of time.
Yes, sir, Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Lori, when we had another lean clean, I think it was on Dixon, if I'm not mistaken. What did that cost the village?
I'm thinking of one that happened on
Where's it, Perea? I forget.
Maestas.
Rincon.
Is it Rincon? I'm sorry, it's Rincon.
Oh gosh, Rincon.
One lot off of.
I'm gonna.
You
have
will
to
get a
think.
bid, right? You will have somebody place a bid as to what it would cost.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
it's useless to try to come up with a number until you get somebody.
Every situation is different.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
We had some help. We had a company that towed cars and did the legwork to ensure that they were legally able to be removed. They charged us $0 for that. For Rincon, we did hire a company, a junk hauling company that loaded up a big, it was a semi truck basically. And then in the meantime, the property owner was trying to do a little bit too, but He's a hoarder, so some of that has come back. So it is really difficult for me to give you an estimate. It's going to be a lot. And, you know, we can just do it in sections, you know, let's deal with the tires, let's deal with the sticks, et cetera.
So here's my other question is, so we go ahead with the lean and clean, a crew comes in, cost X number of dollars. Does that then mean that Mr. Silva has to pay back that amount at some point over, do we give him a period of time?
Well, the way that works is the village puts a lien on the property, and every 4 years, we must renew that lien for it to stay active. In the meantime, the other clean and liens that we've done, we have had someone come in and write a check and pay it off, and that's fine too. This is going to be a lot more extensive, I believe, but there is a statutory process where the village places a lien on the property and we have to provide our records. Here's what we spent. Here's the, you know, the overtime for Sandoval County Sheriffs, here's et cetera, et
So
cetera.
could pay over time or a period, you know,
That I don't know. I think that's a legal question. I don't know if you could pay overtime.
Um,
Turning to this house, that are spending it on what you want me to do. I'm gonna clean it up, that's for sure. I can't see that well, I didn't know it was that bad. We're affecting you guys that bad, you never said nothing, I see you all the time.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my understanding, I've done several of these. If within it, as Laura mentioned, there'll need to be notices. I think when owner lives out of state, you need to post it on the property and publish. And so even the 10 days won't start to run right away. The statute basically and the resolution say that within the 10-day period, if the owner commences cleanup, then the village can allow them to continue. I think it'll be up to code enforcement to determine whether there's been a meaningful commencement of cleanup. It doesn't have to, that's within the 10 days, they have to commence cleaning up. Then if in the judgment of P and Z and the village, there hasn't been a reasonable commencement of cleanup, then the village would hire a contractor. And my guess is, having done a few of these, that you're talking between probably 5 to 10,000 or maybe more. And then the village would put a lien on the property for that amount, unless and until the lien is foreclosed, that the village is out of pocket, that money. And I don't think anybody here wants to be foreclosing on the property and throwing Mr. Silva out of his home.
What makes you think?
But I think it's up to the village whether we want to allow him and or the other owner to pay down the lien.
well, I mean, if I may, Mel, it's just, so I'm just saying, if we had a crew come in and clean it up and they say that it cost X number of dollars, could Mr. Silva set up a payment plan to help clear that lien by paying maybe so much a month? Or
You could probably pay to get it cleaned in the first place without a lien.
I'm asking the attorney a question, please. So I'm just curious, you know, if we establish the lien, can Mr. Silva pay over time to help clear that lien?
I think we could do that. I don't think there's any, and this is off the top of my head. I've never seen a situation like that where either the owner has cleaned it up or the city, the village, the municipality has put a lien on the property. Where there's been a lien placed on the property, I've never seen a situation in which an owner has a payment plan. I think the village could do that, but that's just off the top of my head. I know, actually, I learned about how to do this from John Appel way back.
Yeah.
When he did it for a home on my road, that apparently, unbeknownst to me, it was further up on the road. I never go there, which had turned into a drug.
Oh, this is on El Rey.
On El Rey Drive.
Yes,
Correct.
okay, I recall
And that was bought by a young couple who fixed it up. They paid off the lien. So I think the village could do a payment plan and reduce the lien by any payments that are made. But again, the 10-day period is within that 10-day period. If the owner has made a meaningful commencement of cleanup, then that it still allows the village to forbear at that time. My understanding, just from what I've heard, and I'm not aware of any facts beyond what I've heard here, is that the village has been told before that the property would be cleaned. Property is being cleaned. So
Could I speak?
it is something of a line in the sand. I don't think it's necessarily punitive. It's a way to get properties cleaned up that aren't getting cleaned up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Knight?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, you said that you had some friends helping you clean. So do you have dumpsters right now on your property that
Yes.
they're using?
We have rollaway dumpsters that they're coming to pick up one tomorrow and they're dropping off another one.
So that's from Waste Management?
It's from Roadrunner Waste
Yeah,
that services Corrales.
Okay. So how long has this been going on that they've been helping you clean?
Like 2 weeks.
And so they're not moving things from one side of the
Not-
pathway to the other?
not
They're
at all.
Getting rid of those things?
They're getting rid of those things.
Well, that side of Don's by Glory.
Unfortunately, his son is not, he's not all mentally there. So we've had a problem with him and for years. Mr. Silva wasn't even aware that he was hoarding all this stuff until he sold the property next to him and all the stuff from the house came over to that side of the property. And it does look really bad. I mean, I've never seen anything like it myself. And so,
Well, and you can see how your neighbors,
Right.
even though Mr. Silva has been a great neighbor in the past, that because of all this, all these things, this trash or, tires, I saw it. I went over to
Right.
somebody's house and saw it. It's a scary thing because if somebody throws a cigarette or if there's sparks from a fireplace or something, that place would go up. And all of these people who are your neighbors would be affected by that.
yes, and I understand that. I understand that. But we are making a valid effort to clean up the property. In the 10 days that you guys have to go bid somebody, Mr. Silva can get his own professional crew to come out there, maybe have it all done in 10 days, and you guys will be like amazed,
Do that.
So if that happens, that'd be great.
Yep.
Councilor Burkett?
I mean, I don't think we have any choice but to vote yes on this, just from a safety concern. And I hope that we can find a way to make sure that nothing of value that we find people to come in for free and take it because they're doing that because it has significant value. So, I don't think there's really, in my opinion, a ton more discussion necessary of what ifs and maybes. I think we have to move on this because it's unsafe. And I hope you guys can take care of it the next 10 days. That would be great for everyone involved.
Councilor Miera, did you want to say something?
Pretty much what Councilor Burkett said. You said two things I think that are very important to me. You said we could start the 10 days, but this 10 days could start tomorrow morning.
right?
Because whatever we do here, it's not gonna happen. So you've got a lot of time to do what you wanted to do. And the second part is that you said quickly, and not everybody heard that, was said, we took 80 years for this to happen. And the truth of the matter is we can't wait and give you half the time. That's 40 years.
Right.
That's not gonna come. So better we talk days than years, and days start tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So,
So will someone come out in 10 days and look at the property before bidding is done?
Yes. One
so we have a resolution on the floor. 25-46. We've had a long discussion. How do you vote, Councilor Miera?
Yes.
Councilor Woolman?
Aye.
Councilor Knight?
Aye.
Councilor Burkett?
Yes.
And Councilor Murray?
Yes.
Okay, so the resolution passes. So the plan, Ms. Stout, Lori, so the plan is the
Whatever,
motion passed.
whatever legal notices need to happen will happen. And then once the timeframe, the 10-day timeframe is over, we will examine the property again.
Okay.
Code enforcement officer and I. And I think it would take a professional crew more than 10 days. So we'll start getting bids and we'll concentrate on, the old tires. We'll concentrate on the sticks, the piles of sticks, and we'll just work our way through. And that will give them time to get rid of other things that may be of value.
Or identify other things of value. Council Murray?
Thank you. So, what legal notices have to go out? Does it go to the newspapers? Does it get posted around the village?
Corey Stripe helped me with this, one of our village attorneys, and I'm going to ask her tomorrow morning what precisely needs to go out. There is a notice process, statutory notice process, and she'll help me through it.
So does the 10-day period start with the legal notices, or does it start with tonight?
I'll have to ask. I'll have
Okay.
to ask. I think it's immediate.
Yes, sir.
On that point, there was some discussion earlier about whoever paid it last was also, because they were splitting between the two. Can you send it out to the other one, even if they haven't paid it this last year, so they both
Taxes.
get the notices?
Yeah, both
Regardless
parties
of
have
who
gotten
paid
the
it?
notices. Yeah.
Taxes, you mean?
And that will continue.
So both are part of this trust, correct?
Correct.
So they have to get included in the notice.
They're both listed as part of the trust. So,
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the discussion of the recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding no parking signs and lot coverage ordinance. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I had a question for Lori about the lot coverage.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Is that okay, Lori?
Sure, sure.
so after reading the minutes from the P and Z meeting, I had a few questions. So is impermeable surfaces, is gravel considered an impermeable surface?
Gravel is pervious and will always be considered such by architects and engineers. And if we started calling it impervious, we would have to change many of our ordinances that refer to xeriscaping and landscaping because it is considered,
Okay.
water goes
That
through
was
it.
Brought up. Okay, the other thing I have, is that there's 43,560 square feet per acre. And right now, someone could put a house up that's 15,246 square feet, because that would be 35%. If it did go down to 25%, someone could build a house that was 10,890 square feet. So I just wanted to get those two numbers out.
Well, but the point is, they might have a driveway. They might have a pool. They might have a storeroom.
Right.
So each of those have an impervious surface called a roof. And so, or not the asphalt, but I mean, it's the total number of square footage. It's not just the house.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying. It's,
But it
yeah.
would be the house, or like you said, the driveway, the asphalted driveway or whatever. So I think, this has come up before, that P and Z is a commission that a few of us have been on before, and they really try to do a wonderful job. I mean, and they usually do a wonderful job. And this is a hard question because it was in the comprehensive plan that, a lot of people wanted to go from 35% of the acreage down to 25%. And I think they had a monumental task to say either yes or no. So I'm glad it's going to come before the council. The people that spoke at the meeting, a lot of them were home builders. And I understood that, depending on the money that the owner of the land is putting out, the bank will okay or not okay the size of the house. Is that what they were saying?
Correct.
So, again, this is a really tough question, but I noticed that Commissioner Pearls was the only one that said no. And he referred to the comprehensive plan because it was on the comprehensive plan of the 25%. So I think we need to really discuss this and make a decision about this soon.
You want to bring back an ordinance with the modification to 25%?
Well, I think we need to talk about it first.
Okay.
What are your feelings?
Council Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I watched the video on the, when they talked about this, and you're correct. Only the businesses spoke because there wasn't any public input. Nobody from the public was even there at the meeting when they discussed this. Now, the reason I advocated a hard number is because anytime you have a percentage, and if you have a lot that exceeds 1 acre, 1.5 acres, then that lot coverage goes up as well. And I was going to fix it at, some number so that if the acreage did increase, it still allowed him to do, 25% or something like that. But you get to thinking about it, when we say percentages, and especially if you come up with a 4-acre parcel, now you're talking 60,000 square feet of possible lot coverage. That, to me, is just insane. So why do we allow a percentage to allow this lot coverage to expand and contract and so forth, depending on the size of the lot? Why not fix it and then let them, yes, they can build a 10,000 square foot house, but like they were businessmen were saying, well, they'll just do 2 stories. That's fine, as long as they don't exceed the height requirement, that's fine. But I think we have a grand example over by Councilor Alsobrook's property. That, with that house and that barn that he has there, he is at the max. There's no doubt about it, because, I mean, it's just insane the amount of building he's got there. Now, we got another problem too, because these large houses now require, if there is an incident or a fire, our fire department has to go put it out. A large house, okay, burns just bigger. Let's just say it burns, more. It takes more effort by the fire department to put it out. So I think the comprehensive plan was more or less interested in preserving the views by saying, "Okay, let's keep it at 75% so we can maintain the views within the village, and then, let it go from there."
5%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the views were, it said, have a view shed of 75% of the property. So that allowed you 25% of lot coverage.
Yes, Councilor Burkett.
So I would argue a couple points. One is, I don't think we're concerned about the aesthetics if we're talking about impervious surfaces. We're concerned about water issues because a driveway doesn't affect the views at all. I mean, it's maybe not aesthetically pleasing, but it's way nicer looking than a 2-story house. So I think what the purpose of this was to address water runoff, water retention. My concern, though, is that the unintended consequences of your 4-acre lot example is that the homeowner then splits it into 4 1-acre lots that all have your 12,000 foot limit, and we've got 48,000 feet instead of, instead of one really big house, we've got 4 kind of big houses, and it's actually more lot coverage. And so we're pushing people's financial incentives towards smaller lots so they can maximize their sales dollars instead of building whatever monstrosity of a house they want. No, I mean, somebody can afford a 48,000 square foot house, but it's not going to happen very often. But a lot of people can put 10,000 square foot houses on 4 separate lots.
Well, but the trend has been lately, we've been getting larger and larger homes.
Yeah.
When I first moved here, my house was about 2,000 square feet. These homes have consistently grown because the property values have grown as well. They cost more now. So they're trying to maximize whatever home they can put on the thing. I can't argue with that.
I mean, what are we trying to preserve, though? Are we trying to preserve ground? Are we trying to preserve views? Are we trying to preserve the sense of a community that only has 25 square foot houses? It depends on what our end goal is,
Well, the comp plan said views. They basically wanted to preserve the views of the rural nature of the village.
Yep.
So
I think then impervious surface doesn't address that. I think it does to some degree, but I would venture to guess as much, if not more, impervious surface on a lot of properties is not house. And so it doesn't affect the view. And if people start building up, it affects the view more than if they're building out.
yeah, but you also have accessory buildings. Now you have these barns, these CRV or RV sheds.
Yeah.
It all adds up. It really does. But the 35%, it allows that lot coverage to expand depending on the size of the lot.
Councilor Mieri, did you want to say something?
Yeah. thank you, Mr.
Speak
Mayor.
into your
On that
microphone,
point-
please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and on that point, but just a little different question on that one. Let's say you have the 4,000 square foot, and you're taking the 25%, leaving it as where it is right now. But what I've also noticed is that people might have a 4-acre piece of property. They put the house way in the back and utilize the numbers to their advantage. But then later they could come back and cut up those pieces of property after the fact. So then what they've done is they just put an awful large front yard but for purposes later on to be sold. And are you getting where I'm going with that one? So therefore, the question would be the impervious part of the lot, I think becomes really important, because what you've really done now is you built it to the laws that were available in 2025, 26, but in 28, they did the rightful thing for themselves, and they cut those pieces of property up, but that house remains the same in perpetuity. So therefore, we have to be careful about how much we allow them to do today that they cannot undo tomorrow.
Excuse me, let me just ask this question. So what is the problem that we're trying to address here? So
The comp plan-
the comp plan says open space,
Right.
view shed.
View shed.
So that's what you want to maintain.
Yeah.
And how can we how can we maintain that without negatively impacting people's financial situation? Because you're basically legislating how people can develop their property in the future. And we don't, that's not our job.
Yes, it is. It is too, Mayor, because we are the ones who formulate the ordinances and pass them. And people may not like them, but we do pass them. And
Do it because there's a problem.
well, but
What's-
the comp plan is our guidebook, is it not?
It's a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
one of
there's
the
the
recommendations
recommendation.
was to preserve view shed, let's lower the lot coverage.
Okay.
Could I
Who's
make a
next?
comment?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I do want to point out that, yes, there were a number of home builders there. Most of them happened to be residents, but there were some citizens there. There was also an engineer. He discussed, where did this 35% come from in the first place?
Yeah,
And It's
exactly.
his belief that it was mainly, that's the maximum you really want to have impervious for drainage purposes. So that, and he said that's ideal. He also complimented our whole grading and drainage process. When it works, and it's ideal for us. And we did have a couple citizens who brought up the point that they would consider this a taking, because no, they don't particularly want a big house, but they want a horse barn. They might want a tennis court. They might want a pool with a pool deck. They might want to have a paved driveway. They want other stuff besides the house. And the building official and I talked about this, and he said, if this passes, you will see more two-story houses. And the point was made that we want to preserve view sheds. That's not going to do that. It's going to spur them to go up. It will definitely, they'll just go up.
That's well, if you want to know what a 26-foot high house looks like, I call it the red fence house on Loma Larga. That is exactly 26. That is a 2-story house with a peaked roof. And that is exactly, and it's huge. I mean, it's big. We have another one going up on the end of Sanchez Road that's similarly huge. There are other ways to accomplish this. We could have stricter setbacks. 10 feet from the property line is pretty darn close. Now, also consider in the A1, not all the lots are an acre.
Right.
So if you've got someone with a 1/4 acre lot, but they still get 10,000 feet, as long as they can abide by the setbacks, they've just taken up the whole lot.
Well, I understand that. And that was the caveat to a lot of this too, because anything less than an acre, we have to also figure out as well. I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
And that's where the percentage kind of works,
Yeah.
because the math, you look at the square footage of the lot, and then
Yeah,
that
that's
tells you how
where,
much they
that's
can
when
have.
you have something less than an acre. But when you talk about a couple acres, your lot coverage goes up, percentage wise, incrementally as well. I mean, it really gets ridiculous.
That's true, but I will tell you, the vast majority, 98% of the building permits we're getting are for an acre or less. Or in the A2, there's a couple spots left in A2.
Well, and and this question may be moot too, because if we only have 250 acres left of developable land, and most of it's up in the far northwest sector,
I mean,
Acre
it
lots.
matters for remodels and stuff too. The stuff that's already developed. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
somebody could add, there's a property now that's adding about 4,000 square feet right on Corrales Road. So
yeah.
it certainly can affect the properties that are already present.
And that's where my point comes in, is that you built it according to today's standards, but If there's a couple of acres and they split them up, then that house remains in perpetuity. And we allowed that to happen in previous ground or not.
Right. Okay, do you want to kind of let this percolate a while, digest it some and discuss it again?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. Can we
We
do,
I think
can
we
we,
need to hear from the public on this too.
okay,
Do we want to hear the public, how they feel about their property or how they feel about their neighbor's property?
yeah,
How do they feel about the lot coverage?
we can do that. It's kind of late at night to
Yeah.
start into
Well, I
that.
would-
It's not really posted on the agenda that way.
Yeah, I would do it there. But
Well, when we
I
have
think we
the
get into
discussion,
traffic
you know.
signs though. We need to
We
talk
can,
about
we
that
can
too.
post it that way. But the other thing we're covering is no parking signs.
Right.
Now, Lori, we have in our ordinance, it says no parking on residential roads, right?
It's kind of vague, so.
We need to tighten that up a little bit?
Yeah, if I could, counselors, could I just kind of give you a brief synopsis?
Yes.
Obviously, so I'll just start with the lead. So on September 17th, all of the 6 commissioners present voted unanimously to recommend that council support language that allows for enforcement of no parking zones in Corrales. So this has been going on obviously for a long time. Anytime there's a commercial site development plan, neighbors show up and go, you know, I don't want to see 18 cars up and down my road. It's been a problem in the past. And, you know, they've seen increasing numbers of citizens who are just frustrated by customers of commercial businesses parking up and down their residential streets. Sometimes they block the driveway. They have to call the police. They create a safety hazard. Right now, there's no way that the village police can issue a parking ticket. We don't have that in our code. So I showed you in your packet a couple of examples. Now, the fire chief is on it. Fire station number 1, he's got a sign, it says, you know, don't park here, violators will be ticketed or towed. That's pretty clear. And then I know that chief had requested rather, that Sandia Bar put up some that say loading and unloading only. And what that does is it gives him a place to respond if it's empty. That's not enough. That's good, but we need to take this a step farther. So what the commission is suggesting, we have actual language that could be added to our code. Commercial business parking is not allowed where no parking signs are present. It could then go on to say violators may be ticketed or towed or not. But I'm giving you in there an enclosed example, several areas within our village code, where 3 of them, where this inclusion of that language would make sense. Section 1837 is C, neighborhood commercial zone. J, placement of parking. Put that statement in there. Also in section 1845B, which is site development plans. There is a subsection there that directs the applicant to section 1839, off-street parking requirements. Then subsection C, non-residentially developed properties. Finally, section 14 is used by the Corrales Police Department. Nuisances, division 2, removal of illegally parked or abandoned vehicles. So if we put that language in there, commercial business parking is not allowed where no parking signs exist. And in order for this to actually be enforceable, there must also be a specific fine that is noted that could escalate with repeat offenses. So in general, we need the signs, and then we need CPD to be able to write parking tickets. And the village would put up these signs in identified problem areas as they come about, or ones that we already know about.
And we would put a note on there that says no parking violators may be ticketed or towed, and then we would do the ordinance that we would be doing this under.
Right, the
That would be
ordinance
on the
right,
ticket.
could even be, well, you would definitely have to be on the ticket. We would have to have the fines in our ordinances, you know, they could be escalating. And then it could be, because right now our judge has said, you know, she can't do anything.
Right. Okay. Yes, sir. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So a couple of issues I got then. One I was going to bring up at Councilor's Forum, but I decided to wait till now. Bruce Lindell, who lives over on Applewood, had a film crew come in, and they completely blocked both sides of the road. And they even blocked the road, period, when they were loading and unloading people out of their vans. We need to tighten up the film permits as well. that, because they're not going to film, maybe not in the commercial district. They're going to film within the village. And so if the film crews come in and they made all these promises to Melanie that, oh yeah, we're going to have a generator on another road. No, it wound up on Applewood. And they blocked, they had these big long trucks, box trucks. They bring their equipment in. They were shooting at night, can't blame them for that. That's what, that's the way the movie business is. But if there had been a fire, the chief would not have been able to get to the house at the end of the cul-de-sac. He would have not gotten through there because of the traffic. And Mr. Lindell was very adamant that they made all these promises and came along, posted these things on their gates. Hey, there's going to be a filming. And yet they seem like they busted every rule in the book. So if we're going to do parking, we need to have some teeth into their film law ordinances as well.
And there might be a solution to that, if it's legal. In addition to the permanent no parking signs, if we know there's going to be a one-off event, perhaps there could be temporary no parking signs that say the same thing.
Well,
that cite the code.
It seems like to me that's what the guy was telling him. I didn't see any parking signs here, no parking, and they were blocking driveways and so forth. Now, the other question is, I thought we adopted the Uniform Traffic Code. Does not that cover parking tickets?
Mr. Mayor, Council Murray, the village hasn't actually adopted the Uniform Traffic Code.
Really?
There was no Uniform Traffic Code until a couple of months ago. The municipal league stopped doing it after 2019. I think in August or September, they realized, oh, we haven't done a Uniform Traffic Code update. So they did. In the meantime, and since there was no Uniform Traffic Code, our firm actually put together a Corrales Traffic Code, which updated all the stuff since 2019. We put in some things that were specific to Corrales. Again, the municipal league has since gotten on things and promulgated a new Uniform Traffic Code. But off the top of my head, I don't know if there are provisions for parking in there. One thing, though, I think, if there are not, then definitely there need to be fines for parking and escalated fines. The one thing, though, if you put up no parking signs on residential roads, you probably should have something that says like, except for local residents. And if somebody gets ticketed who lives there or their friends, they can go to the municipal court and say, hey, this is my place, or we were visiting Joe here on this, because no parking means no parking for anybody.
Right.
Right. This was just looking at commercial problem areas and said commercial business parking.
It seems like we've got two problems though, because if we are the film capital of the world here in the village, then, they need to adhere by our ordinances as well.
We made it. Okay, I have a couple of questions, if I could,
Yes,
Mayor.
Councilor Burke.
So to the councilor's point, I don't know how we differentiate resident, friends of resident, and commercial traffic. And I think that makes things very complicated. I also think that it is difficult for us to enforce no parking everywhere in the village if we don't have safe ways for people to cross our streets and pathways to walk from the few parking lots we have, and lighted crosswalks. Because if I was visiting one of the local establishments, I would not feel super comfortable once the sun goes down, parking more than a couple hundred yards away on the opposite side of the street. And we've been talking about crosswalks and lighted crosswalks and for years. And until we can safely tell people, hey, you can't park here, but go park there instead, and guarantee they can get to the business without getting run over, I have a tough time with us telling people to walk down Corrales Road in the dark. So we need to come up with some solutions to that problem.
Okay.
I think I agree with you. That's a rare treat.
The only suggestion I have, Mr. Mayor, is on this number 2, that we kind of put the no parking signs dot and then lot coverage ordinance different, because you put an and, so we discussed them back and forth. So, but they probably need to be separated.
Well, we can probably do the no parking signs relatively quickly. I really think it's not, I mean, I don't know for sure, Laura, you've looked at the ordinance, but we've talked about this in the past. About, commercial businesses and parking in residential areas. I mean, it's been a few years ago, but. Okay.
But I
one
think
more-
that's a
good
quick-
thought. Yes, sir.
That's
I mean,
ideal.
the first half of this discussion was preserving our view shed, and the second half is putting parking signs all over the village. So I'm having a tough time aligning these two
That-
projects.
That was my point.
Why you get elected to office.
I'm glad I'm not up this year.
Well, I know some neighborhoods would welcome the no parking signs.
Would they? They would. I mean, they would. They would welcome them in front of their neighbor's house. I mean, and maybe with some exceptions. Yeah, I'm lucky I don't live next to a business, but it's really difficult to say, well, we want to preserve view sheds because the comprehensive plan told us to, but we want to put no parking signs every 22 feet.
No, it wouldn't be 22 feet. And that's
Be
what we're looking
24?
into right now. No, Steve, I've asked Steve to kind of see if there's any kind of documentation or rules or regulations you follow. Every 500 feet, every 300 feet, whatever the number might be. And we're going to look into that so we have some better answers for that.
I mean, I think that's really hard to enforce then. Like if you're parking 200 feet away from each of the two no parking signs, or
Well,
even
but
a no
here's-
parking zone.
It's just like speed limits. It's hard for that. It does, that being hard doesn't mean you don't do it.
Right. I think it has to
And you
be,
try to
it can
do
be
it.
hard, but it also has to be clear. I don't think it can be
That's
hard
why
and
you have
vague.
More than one speed sign, more than one no parking sign.
You can also have no parking between signs.
Yes.
And make them, viewable to each other.
Sure.
And kind of cordon off an area where you don't want parking, and you could do it again if it goes back, people are lazy, they're not gonna walk very far, so.
Okay, so we will try to work on this and bring it back for a discussion and include discussion from the people in the audience. Okay. Let's move on to discussion of capital outlay requests and priorities. So this list that you have is what we apparently voted on back in July. Yeah. And we've been told that we need to, whatever's in the top three, we can actually request of the governor. But we're gonna go ahead and still request $1 million for the fire control from the governor. I think that was our thought, even though it's number 9. Do you guys have any other suggestions? Yes, ma'am.
No, but I want the top 3 to be in there.
Well, the
Sure,
top
back
two, well, Coronado and Reclining Acres will be there, but the bathrooms are already covered, I believe. Tanya? We have standalone bathrooms covered already. Yeah. How many bathrooms do you want to have?
No, I'm just making sure that those first 3 are covered.
4.
Because,
4.
they've been going up the list for all these years, so.
They're ready.
Sure,
They're shovel ready.
right.
As soon as we get some money, and we're under the 500,000 threshold that they quoted for Ruidoso when they were down there. Mr. Cog, not Mr. Cog, but their Cog was down there telling them we don't know that applies to us, but we're gonna, sir.
Okay.
We were gonna try to stay in that range. Did you want to say something? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to remind the council, as we do every year, and hopefully Council Mira would agree with me, is that we send this list up with your priorities in good faith. And then once the legislators put their hands on it,
oh God,
they do whatever they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think that this is, it's immaterial what we put on the list, they're going to pick and choose what they want.
Except he's right, but there is one caveat. It's whatever you put, should it remain, that number's gonna stay with, so be careful what number you put on it, because you may not get some or all of it, but one thing will remain, it's still $800,000 for your bathroom, so make sure that your number is more appropriate than your listing is to prioritizing.
Yeah.
That's just 24
Well,
years,
and
that's all I got.
My other suggestion too
We
is
get for 24 years?
in terms of bathrooms, I was also thinking about down at the rec center that is next to the road. Because, well, like I say, one time when the Balloon Fiesta was going on, my son and his crew came down there, tried to use the porta potty, and he said it smelled like it was terrible.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. But the point was, why couldn't we put some permanent bathrooms down there as well? So, but that's.
There's
That's
$800,000
another
so-
discussion because, the only problem with the bathrooms is they have to be sort of in a relatively secure area. In a park, it's fenced and it closes down at sundown. And we don't have people living in the bathrooms at nighttime. And that could be an issue. I mean, it's something worth talking about if we start putting in other bathrooms.
Well, if we decide that we're gonna redo the rec center or anything like that, maybe we ought to have a discussion item at least.
Yeah.
Mayor, I do think on the ICIP list, the standalone bathrooms includes a future expansion down to the rec center, just not in a specific place. And that's why that number is 800,000.
Okay.
That's why I said the numbers are important because you can always change it around if you have the number.
Yeah,
Right amount of
yeah.
money.
In the ICIP, you can't see it on this list, but it's actually phased out into, Lawn Trotta Park was first, and then I think it was the rec center, and I believe we have a third one in there too. I can't remember what area that one was.
So anything on this list you want to focus on or change?
It was recommended to us at the clerk's training last week that we submit a couple of projects that are smaller amounts. So maybe like our, the tractor for the fire department, the
And
crack
the-
sealer
and the-
for,
and-
because sometimes the legislators will have $50,000 or $60,000 and they need a small project and they'll just look at the number.
Crack sealer.
There's that number again.
Yes,
So-
yeah.
So the crack sealer is 42 grand. Yes, sir.
So here's the other thing I got too. When I attended the Municipal League's conference this last time, that the governor wants to see shovel-ready projects. She doesn't want to see this money, this capital outlay money sitting in a pot forever. She wants projects that communities are going to go ahead and complete. And so consequently, a lot of these things we need to make shovel-ready. So that means we need to start thinking about designing, planning, and so forth. So anything that requires a design and submittal, we ought to be thinking about doing that.
Coronado ready. Reclining Acres is ready. Fire suppression, they're putting in lines every day. And I asked Anthony, I said, can you spend another $1 million? He said, yes, tomorrow.
Well, I know we could.
So if we get those things, and we're trying to get the governor to come down here for a ribbon cutting on the Old Church Road, fire hydrant. That was the one you decided upon, isn't it, Anthony? Dixon, yeah, Dixon. What did I say? Old Church. I said Old Church. It's Dixon. Yeah. It's getting late, guys. Anyway, no, I agree with you completely. I think that's very good. And when we run into those situations, we try to make sure that we do get design and construction all in one package.
Always.
Yeah.
And our list is due to the state November 12th. So the portal actually opens, the governor's portal opens November 1st and is open through December 15th, I believe. And then the regular capital outlay portal opens November 5th and that one closes December 12th.
So if we have anything that we want to change on here, we have to tell you.
I can't change anything on the ICIP list. I can make a change to the request when it goes into the capital outlay system.
Okay.
But I can't change they've locked
Gotcha.
this list out.
I think you've told me that. Yes, sir. Fire chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Counselor. I just wanted to just make a point here of, so the top three priorities, Coronado and Reclining Acres has my attention. I know that's been something that's been a hot topic. I know Counselor Burkett brought up at a meeting, so I just want to reemphasize our efforts as staff, how we see these lists and how fire suppression, because I want to extend my lines to Reclining Acres and Coronado. I want to get funding so I can send those fire hydrants over there before the repaving in case we want to go laterally. So I do appreciate you allowing us to actively put the fire suppression. I look at this list, I look at it, focus on the bigger picture, on some of these priorities and how maybe we can maximize some of these dollars if we can get them together to make a nice complete project. Because no one wants to see a nice new paved road. And then I come through with a fire hydrant and they're gonna say, Chief, we waited 20 years for this, so again, I just want to emphasize that's part of our planning efforts. And I just wanted to make it clear that thank you for allowing us to put the fire suppression somewhere on this list because if we get it, we will spend it. So thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And the people on those roads are more worried about the drainage I mean, they were wiped out a couple years ago when we had a bad storm. So the way when I talked to Steve, he talked about both of those will have an inverted crown so the water can come down the road.
Absolutely. And what I would like to add, and I understand their concern and drainage, but fire suppression is also very important. And if we could do it all together, win.
Yes, but we've been waiting, it seems like the people on the west side sometimes are forgotten. I mean, these requests, again, those two roads have been climbing up the ladder and it's like, yay, they're 1 and 3. So I hope they can get done, but I know they have to go hand in hand with you. Absolutely.
Well, Anthony's exactly right. We don't want to tear up a road to put a pipe in, but if we have the money to do the roads, we can put the pipe down, the fire hydrant down. It doesn't have to have water right away.
No, and we don't have to go down the full length.
Yeah.
We're not going to get $10 million, but if we get something to maybe go down the ditch, cross the ditch on both roads and put hydrants closer to the properties. Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that's what
and com- and
that's what
combine them.
separates Corrales from the city of Albuquerque.
What's
So
that?
They do what you first said. They build a road and then they cover
Tear
it
it
with
up.
a pipe, That's a big deal
Well,
because
we-
Corrales
We
doesn't.
try
do
to
that.
stretch our dollars, even though they come from other people, we try to stretch them.
Thank you.
But yes, sir, thank you. But no, I think that we're focusing, and last year I remember talking to Senator Nava and saying, we'd like to get the money for the Coronado and Reclining Acres, which are about $500,000 each, and she's writing it down. Well, we didn't get it. But we did get the money for the fire suppression line. So we keep working on it.
Keep playing. Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? So for the next meeting, future agenda items, appointments of the Senior Advisory Committee, approval of ordinance 25-04 that's been postponed. That's the loan agreement. Yeah. And that was because the Stifle people wanted to reword some of that. And then we'll try to, maybe we can put something on there about the no parking signs. We can have a discussion at that meeting. We're getting kind of pushed for time because, we only have one meeting in November and one meeting in December. So, yes, sir.
What about noise? Are we,
I'm still waiting on noise.
Randy's still waiting to hear back from the engineer.
Oh, he found an engineer?
I found an engineer. I called the guy last week and then he called while I was at Clerks Institute. So I need to call him back. I was in meetings pretty much all day today, so.
Well, so
we're
Marty-
in phone tag.
Marty said worst case scenario, she could try to help us find somebody.
Yeah, and but we actually found a company that does this and
Good.
they've helped.
Is this Lee
municipalities.
Engineering?
No,
It's
no,
not.
this is a different company. They actually do this for municipalities all over the
Okay.
country.
Good.
So,
Yes.
and they can get us an engineer that it has the knowledge that we need to work in our community.
Okay. Okay.
I'll make some noise.
You always do.
He
You
will.
always
He will
do.
make
All
noise.
right. Well, therefore, we have finished the business session. Meeting is adjourned. What?